New motor here. This is a Mercury. It's a 7.5. I got it probably a month ago, but haven't even bothered to take the cover off of it until now. So today I'm gonna see if I can get it running. I got this from a coworker who got it from another coworker who was gonna work on it, but it was just sitting in his garage, so he decided to let it go, and he gave it to me to see if I could get it running. I don't know the story on it at all. I don't know if it's supposed to be running. I don't know if it, when the last time it was run. It's in somewhat rough condition. If you look down here by the prop, that's all kinds of chipped up, broken off. And there's another spot over here which has got, I don't know if this is JB Weld or what, but it's got something on that it's not supposed to be there. So I'm gonna see if I can get it running. I'll probably start with doing a compression test, spark check, the usual, and then take it from there. All right, so I managed to get the cover off. Looks like there's a lever right here you pull, which is connected to a linkage that runs to the back, which allows you to pull it from the back. I think we ran into our first problem though. I think this thing might be locked up. I don't think. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Might be a lower unit though. Okay. Ooh, oh my goodness. This thing is in bad shape. Okay, so problem number one, it's locked up. Don't know if it's in the cylinders or if it's just the lower unit. Won't go in and out of gear. I'm thinking it might be the lower unit, but I don't. So it looks like the flywheel wants to turn a little bit as I pull this, if you can see it. Not sure if you can or not. All these wires in here, look at this, all the insulation is gone from these wires. This is completely gone, no insulation. So it's gonna need some wiring. But first, let's see if we can get it unlocked. I'm gonna take the lower unit off, see if that's the problem, since it has this obvious damage here. Could be indicative of further problems on the inside. So that's step one. Then we'll see what we need to do next. All right, so it looks like we need to get, there's a nut here, and of course there's one under here. Unfortunately, this prop is like locked up in the perfect spot to prevent me from getting to this nut. So I'm gonna have to take the prop off first and then get to it. Luckily there's just a nylon nut on here. Nope, not even, yep. Nylon nut on here holding this on. And it was only finger tight, so that was easy. So looking at this damage, I don't know how well you can see, but looking at this damage around here, it doesn't look like it actually damaged the carrier in it, the bearing carrier. So it's potentially, there's still a good seal on here, potentially. We'll test that later. First, we're gonna get see if we can unlock it first. Now that we have the lower unit off, let's see if we can get the flywheel to turn. Yes. All right. So we're unlocked up here, which is good. So the problem is in the lower unit. Unfortunately, we'll have to pull that apart in order to see what's going on in there. Now that we have this moving freely, I'm gonna take these spark plugs out, put a little bit of oil in the cylinders, work that a little bit, and then we'll do a compression test and possibly a spark test. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to get it with all these wires looking as poorly as they are, but we'll still try it. All right, so we're gonna test the top cylinder first. Well, that's 0. Looks like just below 90, maybe 88-ish. About the same, just below 90. Yep. I don't know if you saw it, but it looks like it's got a pretty decent spark, so that's good for that one. And we got spark for that one too, so that's good. The next I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up the fuel line. Since we have compression spark, I'm going to hook up fuel to the carburetor. Unfortunately, I can't find my old Mercury connector that hooks up to this style, so I'm going to end up having to bypass this. Fuel comes in here, runs through that elbow, and then over into the fuel pump here. I'm going to disconnect it from here and just hook a hose straight up from the gas tank to that, so that we can bypass the connector and then see if we can get it running. Well, I may have made a little boo-boo. I may have gotten a little overeager, a little overly forceful, and I broke off this little barb for the this is the cover for the fuel pump. This is where the barb, where the fuel line comes into. I broke it off, so I'm gonna have to order a new one. But in the meantime, I still want to get this thing running, so I just throw some JB Weld on here, and hopefully, once that hardens, hopefully, if I'm ginger enough with it, that it will work in order to fill the carburetor up and actually get it running. But like I said, if it does run, I'll go ahead and I'm going to order a new one for it. But hopefully this will keep us moving forward. All right, while the JB Weld cures, I'm going to start looking into the lower unit. First thing, just drain the oil and see what it looks like, if there is any in there. Alright, so put it in the vise, use the impact screwdriver, see if this will help some. There we go. Well, it doesn't appear to be anything in there. There's no oil, there's no water. But there's no oil. So looking at the top of this thing, so this is where, like I said, this is where the drive shaft goes into the lower unit. At the top there is a bearing up here, and the bearing looks a little crusty. So it looks like it was dry for a while, maybe it had some water in it. Looks like it is probably a little rusty. Assume there's a few more bearings in lower down in this thing, and they're probably the same way. So I'm going to go ahead and pull everything apart, expose all the bearings and everything, and see what needs to be replaced. Hopefully it's just the bearings that are causing it to be locked up. If that's the case, we can replace those and it should be okay. All right, if you're looking for an example of how to do this the right way, this is not it. But I don't have a puller that's small enough to work on this tiny outboard. So I used rope and my existing puller to pull this thing out. I've gotten kind of lucky, I think, because sometimes bearing carriers can be in here pretty tight and seized in, and I'm able to work this one out by hand, so it's not always this easy. That being said, I did use heat to get the little lock nut off. The Mercury proprietary lock nut off, so maybe that when I applied the heat it could have loosened up this bearing carrier also. And we're at, oh wow, I don't even know what this is. This looks terrible. What is that? It's like a puddle of crud at the bottom of this thing. Despite that, the gears actually look like all the teeth on the gear look okay. Surprisingly. Cool. Let me pull the rest of the stuff out. I'm gonna get this rope off here. I'll pull the rest of the stuff out of here and we'll take a look at it. So after quite a bit of banging, burning, tapping, whatnot, I got everything out. We are in an empty shell. There's a drive shaft and that drive shaft bearing carrier, pinion and pinion nut. This is the prop shaft. The clutch there. That's your, I want to say reverse gear. I don't know. I get the forward and reverse gears mixed up. This is where your shifter comes down into. And this is, all these bearings look bad. So I'm assuming that I'm going to have to replace all the bearings on these things. Other than that, I mean, all the teeth look fine for the forward and reverse gear. So I'll do some pricing for some of the bearings and seals. See how much that's going to run us. Also an impeller. So it's only been a second for you guys, but it's been a day for me. I actually went fishing this morning and got skunked. Now it's the afternoon, really the evening, and I'm back to this project. So we took everything apart. This has had time to cure, and I'm going to put this back on, hook it up to some fuel, and we'll see if we can get this bad boy to turn over. Now that the fuel line is hooked up, we'll go ahead and see if this carburetor will take a prime. Sounds like it's filling up. And it sounds like the bowl and needle are working. I guess let's see if we can start it. Now that we know that the motor will run, we can take a little time cleaning some of this stuff up, seeing what's good and seeing what's not. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to replace all these bearings, but just to make sure I'm not missing anything, take all this stuff apart, clean it up a little bit, take a closer look at it, and make sure everything is good enough to go back in before I order, so that we can order once. It's kind of like measuring twice and cutting once, and you check twice and then you order once, right? Right. All right, so it's been several weeks, I believe. We're waiting on parts to come in, but we have a whole bunch of bearings, some seals, O-rings, new impeller, emptied out housing. These are the parts that we're going to reuse. These are the parts that we're not reusing. We're going to throw it all together right now. All right, so I got a new connector that fits on the Mercury. So I'm gonna put this back on, put this on the fuel line to the gas tank, and then we'll start it up, hopefully. I haven't done any carburetor work, so hopefully. I almost forgot to put some oil in the lower unit, so let me do that real quick, and then we can give this thing a test run. All right, now that we got it all back together, we got some water down here, and we'll give it its first real test start. Give it some choke. Doesn't like going that low. Okay. because